is something my guest said today that stopped me in my tracks. She said, the minute you show a prospect that you've identified their specific problem and you know exactly how to solve it, that's when you hook them. Not when you list your credentials, not when you pitch your services, when you show them you already understand what they're dealing with. That one shift from selling to solving is what she says has made all the difference in building her pipeline. And she's learned it the hard way, coming out of a layoff, building her business from zero, figuring out quarterly taxes and LLCs and how to write outreach messages that actually get a response, all on her own. My name is AJ Riedel. This is Thriving Through, the podcast where each week I have real conversations with self employed consultants about what it really takes to build a profitable, successful, fulfilling consulting practice. Today, I'm talking with Deepa Patel, a fractional chief of staff and revenue operations consultant who's built her practice across industries ranging from medical devices to fintech to SaaS. She refuses to use AI or templates in her outreach, doubles down on the human touch, and has learned firsthand what rejection fatigue is and how to push through it. We talk about how she thinks about growing revenue when one client is consuming 35 hours of her week, why your network is your most underutilized asset, and the mindset that keeps her going when the pipeline feels thin. No polish, no glossy success stories, just what it actually looks like to build a consulting practice that works. Let's get into it. On today's episode of Thriving Through Podcast, I am welcoming Deepa Patel. Deepa, so delightful to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Wonderful. I'm excited to have you. The podcast name is Thriving Through.
Yeah.
So my first question is, what does thriving mean to you?
To be very honest with you, what it means to me is being able to design your day versus managing your day in the sense of being able to do what you want throughout your day, to be able to say, hey, this is what I'm going to take on for today versus I can't do this today. And just being able to have that flexibility and that level of confidence to be able to say, this is what's going to work for me today. This is the capacity I have. And that to me is what I would say is thriving, to be very honest with you. And just being able to be that comfortable, right? Like having those boundaries. So,
Okay.
yeah,
And are you thriving?
I think so. I think I'm doing great at it. It's taken me a minute to get here, but I think I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. And now on to the main questions, I guess.
Yeah.
What was your path to becoming a self-employed consultant?
So, full transparency, being very vulnerable here, I actually was let go from my job in I think it was October of 2023. And at that point, like the thought of always being my own, business owner, being my own manager, my own boss, has always been something that I've been thinking about and noodling on. And I just never really had the courage to go for it and do it because I did have a full-time job that was, I guess you could say, stable, providing me a regular paycheck. And then once I got laid off, I was like, well, maybe this is a sign. Like I just need to go for it. And I had already started building like my website, building all of the things that I needed to do, started posting more on LinkedIn and being more vocal. And once I got let go, I was like, okay, well, this is the path. Like, I'm just going to go for it. And that's where I ended up. I also come from a line of business owners, entrepreneurs. They've always done their own thing. And so for me, I'm like, this is what I want. And so I just went for it. I don't know if you want to call it destiny or I don't know if you want to say that it's a little woo-woo, but I was like, okay, well, I got let go, so now's the time. It's now or never. So yeah,
Right.
that was my path. Yeah.
So at that point, you got let go. There, it wasn't what I hear a lot of times when people get let go is, should I go find a job or pursue this? And
Yeah.
there was, in your mind, there was never go find a job. You were saying, I've been thinking about this. This is the perfect time.
Exactly. Because I was just like, I can go find another job and I can lose all control of my flexibility and my day to day, or I can finally do something that I've been thinking about for such a very long time. AJ, I've been thinking about this for so long, and I was just like, okay, this is the time. Like I have no job, I have no full-time nothing, so just go for it. And for me, it was just like all just jump right in and sink or swim. So yeah, there was no doubt that this was the path.
So take me back to that moment when you decided this was real.
Yeah.
You're going to make this work. Tell me about that moment.
It was terrifying. I'll be very honest with you. It was actually very scary because when you jump into something like this, you don't know if it's going to work or not. Going
Hmm.
right into a full-time job, you know that, okay, I can land a job, I have the skill sets, I'll get a steady paycheck, and I'll do the 9 to 5, et cetera, et cetera. With this path, you don't know if it's going to work. And just building that pipeline, when am I going to get my next client? When is this? When is that? And for me, the biggest motivator was I have to have control of my schedule. And that's what I continuously reminded myself of. It's like, Deepa, not to talk to myself in third person, but Deepa, you have to have control of your schedule. That is what matters to you the most. So, hell or high water, you need to figure it out and you're going to go for it. And at that time, the job market wasn't the best. I mean, compared to what it is now, it was a lot easier. But I'm like, okay, the job market isn't great. Just go for it. So, yeah, for me, the biggest motivator was having control over my schedule. And that's what
Okay.
drove me.
Tell us a story or two about the biggest challenges you faced building your business and how you've overcome them.
This might this might sound silly, but just figuring out how to put together an LLC or an S corp, like, okay, do I do an LLC? Do I do an S corp? Statement of work, BOA, like some of the basic things that you need to do to have your own business. The one thing I can say that I would recommend to folks that are wanting to jump into this is have a checklist with deadlines, timelines, etc. Of, hey, I need to file or I need to pay the fee for my LLC by this date, and this is how much it's going to cost me. Or, oh, you have to pay, if you're on a 1099, you have to pay your taxes on a quarterly basis. Here are the due dates for those said taxes. And a lot of these things seem very basic, but for me, someone that was brand new, I was like, oh, I need to really map this out. So I would say that was like my biggest learning is really figuring out how do you even go about having your own business? What are the key things that you need to make sure that you have? But also, what are those deadlines, timelines? Because you don't want to get hit with fees, late fees, this, that, like business license, have an insurance policy, et cetera, et cetera. Now, to some, this may seem like a very common sense thing, but you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people out there that don't know some of the basics that you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so have
mean, I
this.
mean, why would you when you've been in corporate? You
Exactly. Like
know,
if you've
it's
been
not
in
something.
corporate, yeah.
And what about challenges and obstacles when it comes to getting clients to the dreaded sales and marketing? How
Yeah.
did you feel about those areas?
I will say it definitely put me out of my comfort zone because I'm more of a be behind the scenes type of person versus really just being out there. And when you're running your own business and you have to run your own pipeline, you have to really put yourself out there. So posting on LinkedIn, which comes so naturally to maybe most people, for me, I would dread like every word, every sentence, like, okay, how is this going to land? Is this going to be okay? Like, are people going to be able to resonate with this? So for me, it was just really putting yourself out there, posting on LinkedIn, reaching out to people to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Here's my website. Let me know. And the more you can get comfortable with being in that kind of space and mindset, the better off you're going to be. And I promise you, it will get easier for anyone that's like, I don't know if I could do this. And I've heard so many people tell me, like even my own group of friends, they're like, this networking thing seems exhausting. And I'm like, it's actually not bad because you can get so much knowledge and so much out of it. And yes, you do have to put yourself out there to be able to get those clients, to be able to build your pipeline. You have to go to networking events, you have to join different groups, and you have to say, like, you have to raise your hand to say, hey, I'm here, look at me, which can be uncomfortable. I'm the perfect example of that. Like, it was really uncomfortable for me, but it gets better. And that's how you got to do it. And it gets easier. It gets better. It gets better.
You described leaving corporate as choosing to be in the driver's seat rather than the passenger seat. And you kind of alluded to that in the earlier question. Now that you've been fully in control of your schedule and your time and your to-do list, you've been in control for a couple of years.
Yeah.
How does that actually feel day to day, the good and the hard parts?
I'll be honest, it feels amazing. And I always remind myself for why I did what I did when I do have difficult days. I'm not going to make it seem like it's just all roses and unicorns. It's not. But the date, like I love, like I'm a big Orange Theory person, for example. And I love that I can go in the mornings, come home, do what I gotta do, and then log on. Like I love having that flexibility. But then there are days where it is tough, where I'm thinking about like, okay, where's my next paycheck coming from? Where's this? Where's that? But then I always go back to being more grateful than being in the negative because the more grateful you are, the better your results are going to be. Because you just have to constantly remind yourself of the why. Why did I get into this? Why am I doing this? And if you stay on that path and you can stay strong and keep that mindset, you will you will move everything and anything out of your way to make sure that you could stay on that path. So for me, the biggest thing has just been constantly just enjoying those moments of
Mhm.
that flexibility versus staying in the negative of like, oh my goodness. And don't get me wrong, I've had those days where I'm like, oh gosh, like where am I gonna like I don't have like the strongest pipeline or whatever it may be. But you just got to remind yourself of the why. And I think that will
Why?
get you through it. Yeah.
It's interesting because that control and having the control,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of tension because with the control that you get over your life, you've also got the reality of income unpredictability.
Yeah.
So, do you feel that sort of tug of war between the control and the unpredictability? And some days it feels harder, and other days it feels easier.
Oh my goodness, yes. Like there's been times where I'm like, let me just go get a full-time job and just get that stable paycheck. But if we've learned anything, especially over the last year, there's no there's no such thing as stability, even in the corporate world. Like with the layoffs and everything that is happening, that is the reality. So
Hmm.
for me, I'm like, I control my destiny. Like I'm in the drive, like what you mentioned earlier, I'm in the driver's seat. And so whatever I put into it, I'm gonna get out of it. I may not get the results right off the bat, but I'm gonna get results because I'm going to hustle and I'm gonna make sure that I'm successful. And so for me, that is what drives me because yes, I can go back to corporate, I can go back to the 9 to 5, but I'm like, that isn't that isn't stable at the end of the day. So why not work for yourself, invest in yourself, and push yourself and reap the rewards and make it a little bit more stable. Yes, it's going to take time, but you know, like you just have a little bit more of a foundation versus, okay, let me just throw in the towel, give up. Like you can't just give up because things get hard. You got to push through it. So that's just
Right.
been my philosophy. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like when that little voice in your head says, this is too hard, maybe I should just go get a job. There's another voice that says, yeah, well, that's not a whole lot more stable.
It's not. And you got to really give yourself a pep talk to be able to get out of that because it is very easy to just go on LinkedIn, find some jobs and like apply. But at the end of the day, it's like, again, you have to take it back to why did I get into this to begin with? And that will, I believe, in, well, at least for me, it resets your mentality a bit.
I love that you come back to the why.
Yeah. Always got to come back to the why.
I want to move on to something you mentioned when we had our pre-interview that you write every single outreach message yourself
Mhm.
rather than using templates or AI.
Yeah.
Excuse me. What's the thinking behind that?
I get to add a personal touch, and I also want to make sure that the person receiving my messages knows that it's me. It's not just some AI where I'm sending out thousands and thousands. Like, I want them to know that it's curated and that I personally wrote it because I think there's something to be said about the personal touch versus AI. Because now AI is basically taking over everything. And I think it's an advantage. Like you can actually stand out from the crowd because there's a lot of fractional consultant individuals out there that are trying to get that same project, that are looking for, additional pipeline, etc. You can make yourself stand out more, especially if you're starting out when you give your messages that human touch. Because I think if anyone, like we've been dealing with AI for so long now that at this point you can spot an AI driven message pretty quickly. Especially because I know because I get a good amount of them. I'm like, oh, this was AI. Like you just changed it to hi Deepa versus hi AJ. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is copy paste. And I'm gonna disregard it versus someone that's like making it a little bit more curated and it's like a more of a human touch. I'm more likely to want to respond to that. So that's why I put my own personal touches on a lot of these messages that I send out.
How does it do you find that people are respond to that?
They do respond. And a lot of the times I will admit, they'll just say, hey, thank you for reaching out. We don't have anything at this time or whatever. But the fact that I'm even getting a response, that tells me that I'm doing something right. Because if you aren't even getting responses, open rates, etc., then it's like, okay, you need to change things up a little bit. But I'm getting responses, and sometimes it does lead to conversations and it does lead to folks being interested. And I have closed deals because of my messaging. And I actually had one client that told me that, like, oh, I can tell that this was a human that wrote this to me because of the way that you worded certain things and the way that you said things. Because I also take it a step further. If it's a company that I'm looking at, I will go do research on them and say, hey, like I see X, Y, and Z. You look like you're looking to grow one, two, three, whatever it may be, and throw in some stats because that makes them realize or understand or see that, hey, she took the time to research us. She didn't just
Mhm.
blindly send things to us. And with all the competition and everything going on, that's a great way to set yourself apart from everybody else that's looking to try to get these projects.
How do you mentioned earlier that there are other fractionals and it's such a competitive market for consultants and fractionals. What makes you different from your competition?
What makes me different, I would say, is just my years of experience. I've been fortunate enough to be in accounting, finance, strategy, operations, chief of staff. I've been in different industries across the board. I've never really focused on just one industry, one thing. And the reason why I say that this is beneficial also is because I'm able to see from a different lens and be able to bring in all this experience from different like companies, organizations, and see what good looks like. Like I can walk into an organization or a company and say, okay, you want to build out a RevOps function. Here's exactly what you need. One, two, three, four. Because I've built it from the ground up and I know exactly what it takes to get there. The other thing I would say that really sets me apart is I'm always looking and asking questions with just coming in super aggressive or super hot, as a lot of people would say,
Hmm.
because I take the time to learn, but I also move very quickly and to be able to make that impact and to be able to to be able to give those results. So that to me, I think is what really stands me out. And the final thing I would say about this is I've been in so many different industries. A lot of consultants and fractionals that I've come across, they only focus on one specific industry or maybe two. I've been in medical device, manufacturing, fintech, ed tech, and SaaS, like technology, like, and for me, that makes me just more adaptable because I can show like, oh, if I get a project at a cybersecurity company, yeah, I'm gonna pick up on the acronyms and the lingo very quickly because I'm not just used to seeing something just one way. I've seen it 30 different ways at this point, and I can adapt and learn quickly and pick up on things. So that I would say has really been beneficial for me.
Okay. I want to do a little role play.
Okay.
So say we're at a networking event
Yeah.
and and we just meet and I say, "So, Deepa, what do you do?" What
Yeah.
do you say?
I would say very confidently that I am your one-stop shop for all things related to strategy, operations, and analytics, regardless of industry. And all of my work is based on proven results and impact that I have made. And I am able to ultimately deliver results because I am confident and I know what I'm doing. Like, I wouldn't say the last piece, but in my mind, it's like, I got this. Like, I know what I'm doing. But I can help you achieve your goals.
And when you say that at a networking event, what kind of reaction do you get typically?
Honestly, I've gotten like a lot of like, oh, okay. Because not a lot of people are going to come off that confident. And I'm not here to try to sell you. I think that's what it is I'm not here to try to sell you. I'm here to try to show you that I can help you. I can help you achieve your goals, help you get to where you need to be versus me just trying to sell you like my services, etc. And I think that's why it lands a little bit better versus me just saying, "Oh, well, I've done this, and this." And I'm just saying, hey, put your trust in me. I can deliver results. I can make an impact because of this, and this. So I kind of flip the script a little bit. And I think that's why it lands a little bit better because not a lot of people do it that way, if that makes sense.
Mhm. It does. You talked earlier about rejection fatigue.
Yeah.
The tell us what rejection fatigue is.
You're going to end up getting maybe 100 no's before you finally get that yes. And rejection fatigue to me is really just push through, keep going, because it is, speaking from experience, it's very easy to just want to give up and be like, forget it, I can't do this. Because it does hurt your soul, it hurts your ego when people are constantly like, no, 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 I don't want to, no, no, no. But you got to just keep going because eventually you will hear that one yes, and that one yes will just uplift you so much. It will make you skyrocket and you'll be so excited and you'll get your confidence back. Because when you keep hearing no all the time, it will crush you a little bit. Not to sound like a Debbie Downer, but it will crush you a little bit. But when you hit that yes, you're just like, this is why I'm doing this, and I'm gonna keep going, and it'll just fuel your fire even more. So,
So on those days when all you're getting is no's,
yeah.
what is that costing you emotionally on those days?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I just go have a nice glass of wine. I go relax a little bit. And again, just give myself a little bit of a pep talk. I talk to like my friends and stuff because they're gonna be your biggest supporters. But I also go back again and again to why am I doing this? And I just remind myself that I can do this. I have it in me. There's a reason why I'm on this path. And I just got to believe in myself and I got to believe in what I'm trying to accomplish. Because the minute you forget that or you lose that belief, that's when everything tends to go a little bit south. But for me, I just continue to believe in myself. Like, you got this, you can do it. And you just got to keep going. It's one day, it's one time. Tomorrow's a new day. And you just got to wake up with a little bit more of a positive perspective.
Got it. You've got the mindset nailed.
You have to, otherwise it's going to be tough. But yeah, you gotta have the mindset.
You described what you do when you have a client. Your client, one client runs it 30 to 35 hours a week,
Hmm.
right? So it makes it hard to take on another engagement.
Yeah.
So how do you grow? I mean, how, I mean, how how do you grow your business when you only have so many hours in the week so you can take one or two at most clients?
Yeah. So for me, the biggest thing is just making sure you have a solid pipeline. That's how you're going to grow your business because a lot of these, at least from my experience, a lot of these contracts can take a while. So even if, say, today you have a client that's taking up 35 hours per week of your time, and then another one comes in that's like, hey, I need 20 hours, that the odds of closing that client might take a couple of months. So there might be maybe a month or so where the two overlap, and that's just on you to be able to manage those expectations and to manage your own calendar. But the sales cycle is fairly lengthy, at least again, in my experience, it can take time, especially in this market, in this economy. Clients are more hesitant to want to spend on contractors or this or that because they're always looking internally. Like, can I find someone within that can do the things that I'm axing this, consultant to do? Can someone
Mhm.
internally just take it on and then I can save this budget for something else, whatever it may be. And so that back and forth actually takes a while. Like, it's not one of those things where a client comes in and you just close them immediately. Not saying it never happens, but you always have a bit of a lag. So it just benefits you to be able to take on like a 30, 35 hour a week client, but then also always continuously building that pipeline. For example, I had a client that had reached out to me via LinkedIn and then said, oh, okay, now is not the time. And then 4 months later, they came back. And then, even then, when I started, it took another 2 months. And so by the time I was done with my last client, this one kind of worked in and it worked out. So I think that's the best way to be able to kind of manage those expectations. And the other final thing I would say is getting some advisory type of roles where you're on a retainer. So it's like, hey, we need 10 hours a month, for example. So there was a client where I was a growth advisor for, and it was only 10 hours a month. And that is so much easier to manage. So it's like you're building that side of your pipeline while you can still manage having a client that's going to ask 30 hours a week of you. So you can still like get the two and again build that pipeline of yours.
Okay. How do you think with your advisory and your fractional, how are you going to be able to grow revenue without bumping into that capacity ceiling? Or how are you going to grow revenue without constantly bumping into the capacity ceiling?
So the way that I think about it is if I'm fortunate enough to get to that capacity ceiling,
Hmm?
is doing referrals. Referrals is a great way to be able to just gain additional revenue. So you can charge like a fee. And I'm part of a lot of fractional networks where I can say, hey, I have this Rev Ops, consulting project. It's 30 hours a week. I unfortunately can't take it. But if there's someone that is open, you can post about it. You yourself would vet the candidates and then pass them off to the client and then just charge like a $7,000 or whatever the fee is, like a placement fee. So you still get something out of it, but then you also are supporting your client and you're also managing that capacity ceiling that you referenced, right? So you're able to essentially kill two birds with one stone. And then you make sure that the person you place, like I personally would, do regular check-ins, like, hey, is there anything you need help with? Like, are you doing good? And that I think is really important because you were the one that placed them. So you need to manage your brand and your reputation. And the best way to do that is anybody that you've placed, making sure that they're supported. And if there's anything that's maybe falling through the cracks or whatever, you can kind of help support them because then your client can say, oh, Deepa referenced somebody and she did a great job. And that right there is just going to help boost your brand, reputation, whatever you want to call it, even more because then clients will then, it's word of mouth, right? Clients will then go and say, hey, like Deepa's really good at finding people, or she can go do it herself. So yeah, that's how I would manage it.
Okay. I want to kind of look to the future.
Okay.
Is your consulting practice delivering the lifestyle you dreamed of when you made the leap?
Oh, 1000%. It better be. I mean, I'll be honest, it's delivering now. So, I'm just hoping that it'll just get better and better. I mean, I'm still a couple of years in, but yes, 1000%. I really do hope that it's gonna deliver and it's gonna be a nice, well-oiled machine. That is the dream.
Okay. And what's it? Is it a well-oiled machine now?
It is, but for me, I really have high expectations for myself. And to me, I know it's a well-oiled machine when I have so much pipeline that I have to constantly refer business out. And I end up having just consultants on staff that I can, send projects to, and I collect a fee, and then they go and get paid whatever they need to go get paid. That to me is the end game and like a well-oiled machine. Right now, am I there? Full transparency. Unfortunately, I'm not, but I do believe that I can get there and I will get there. But yeah.
What do you think needs to be true about your business, your marketing, your positioning to get there?
I would say the biggest thing is just I keep referencing this, but driving that pipeline, that is what's really gonna help you. But also putting yourself out there, word of mouth, and tapping into that network. Your network is going to be your biggest gift. And going back to people that you've worked with, they can open up opportunities for you. And now is the time. I think we're in a very special time because a lot of companies are looking for more contract fractional because they don't want to commit to full-time employees or roles or whatever. They rather invest in a contract because it's less risk And it ends up being technically cheaper for them because it's like, hey, let me bring you in for 6 months and then move out. So for me, the biggest thing is tapping into that network, making sure that you are staying on top of your marketing efforts, you're managing your pipeline, and you're doing very RevOps things, which is obviously my domain, of looking at your sales velocity, conversion rates, looking at, how many net new clients are you bringing in. And some of these clients, like your retention piece of it too, some of these clients can leave and then they're like, hey, by the way, like I need something. And they can wrap back like a year later and be like, oh, I need someone on this like 3 month project. You already know the business. I know you. Come on in. So those are the key things I would say.
Okay. One thing I've noticed across the 100+ conversations I've had for the podcast
Yeah.
is that the consultants who get to that waiting list state usually have one thing in common. They stop treating marketing as something they fit in around client work and they start treating it as its own discipline.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, does that resonate with where you are right now?
Yeah, I agree. I think the best marketing efforts that you can put out there for yourself is not making it seem like it's super forced or that you're selling people something. It's more around I'm solving something for you versus selling something. Because the minute you can show clients that, hey, I'm solving something for you, that's when you're going to hook them. If you're constantly trying to sell, 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 you're going to lose them because everybody's trying to sell them something. But the minute you're like, hey, I've identified this problem for you, I'm going to solve it for you, and this is how I'm going to do it, that's when you are more likely to hook them in. So definitely, definitely resonates with me. And that's the approach I take.
What are the what problems do you solve for your clients?
The biggest problems I help solve is organizational alignment, helping with like strategic development, and helping companies see around the corner. And when I say that, I mean, if you're looking to scale, what are the things that you need to do to be able to scale? If you're looking to add additional headcount, do you really need to add 10 headcount or can you do five and then the other five I can help you solve with AI or something else? So I'm really looking to showcase clients like, hey, this is how, these are the steps. Like, this is what good looks like. This is how you're going to be able to get to that next level. If your goal is to be an Airbnb or a Lyft or whatever it may be, these are the steps that you need to take to be able to get there. Or don't just spend a bunch of money because you think you're going to get all this ROI. No, you can still spend half of that and still get that ROI, but you need to do X, Y, and Z. So I'm very logical and more budget oriented, but also strategic, if that makes any sense. But for me, I'm like, I've been around the block a few times and I know exactly how financials and everything works. And so this is how you want to get to where you want to get to. And so that's how I'm able to help clients is like really mapping out for them, like this is how you're going to achieve your end goal.
And now we're getting close to the end of our time together. So I have a couple final questions that I'd like to ask. The first one is, what book, podcast, or other resource has been most valuable to you in building your business?
For me, the biggest one has been this podcast called the CEO Diaries. And that one has been great because he brings on all types of individuals that tell you exactly what it takes to get to where you want to be. And they're realistic about it. For me, the biggest thing is if I'm learning about how to become an entrepreneur, whatever it is, I want to know the struggles. What can I learn from your mistakes so I don't make those same mistakes? and I want to be able to be as efficient as possible. So for me, that has been very impactful. The other one I would say is just learning through my network, not a specific podcast or a specific book or anything like that, but I'm part of so many fractional networks that I take the time to schedule one-on-ones to be like, hey, what's going on? What are your struggles? What are you learning? And that has been super beneficial for me, to be very honest, because I'm learning in real time from real people that are going through it. And as much as like these podcasts and stuff are great, a lot of them they've already are established, and I want to learn from people that aren't. Yes, I want to learn from people that are established, but sometimes I want to learn from people that are on the same like level as I am. Like, what are you dealing with, and how are you, overcoming that? So a mix of two or both.
Okay. And this last question is the single most important question. If someone wants to learn more about you and what you do, your work,
Yeah.
where's the best place for them to connect with you?
I would say the best is my LinkedIn or even my website, which is deepapatel.net. But I would say my LinkedIn, that's where I have all of my experience. That's where I post everything, testimonials, etc. That and my DMs would be the best place. And then the final thing I would say there is just scheduling a one-on-one. Like I'm always open. My calendar is open. I'm open to talking to everyone and anyone. I love it.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. And for those of you listening or watching, until next time, keep thriving through. Deepa, thank you so much for being on Thriving Through today. I love the honesty you brought to this conversation, the hard days, the rejection fatigue, the mindset work it takes to keep going. This is exactly the kind of real talk that consultants need to hear. For everyone listening, I want you to take one thing from today's episode. Stop selling, start solving. Stop selling, start solving. The next time you reach out to a prospect, don't lead with what you do. Lead with what you've noticed about their situation and what you can help them fix. That one shift is everything. Before I let you go, if you're doing solid work but your income doesn't show it, I want to offer you something. It's called a revenue diagnosis call. Before we meet, you'll take the free consultant marketing scorecard, a 15-minute assessment that pinpoints exactly where your client attraction system is breaking down. Then, on our 60-minute call, I'll tell you whether you have a lead generation problem, a nurturing problem, or a conversion problem, and which one is costing you the most money right now. This isn't coaching, it's a diagnosis. If you're under 150K and know that you should be at 200K or more, this call is for you. The link is in the show notes. Until next time, keep thriving through.